Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Victorious Essentials. I'm Victoria, and I wanted to share with you more about kind of my story, my journey, and why it is that I am here talking to you about women's health, but more specifically infertility. So if you saw my video yesterday, you would have heard me talk a little bit about where I came from, what happened with my story, what's my experience with infertility. So to start, at the age of 25, my husband and I decided we wanted to start a family. We spent 3 years trying to conceive our first child. Over those 3 years, I met with medical doctors and another medical doctor and another multiple different scenarios, multiple different possible prescriptions and procedures to try and increase my rate of becoming pregnant. Also within that time, I had given up on those options, knowing that they wouldn't be able to help me, knowing that there has got to be something more going on, but not really knowing what questions to ask, where to go. It's hard to ask a question when you don't know what part of your body or what part of your situation is actually creating the difficult situation. So the challenge that I was facing is not uncommon, and I knew that there had got to be other resources. I started doing a lot of research on my own, spending days and weeks reading on what I could find on Dr. Google, which ended up just becoming more and more frustrating because what I'd gotten from the medical field and what I'd gotten from Google was all of us have the same face. And we know that's not true. All of us are women, but we are all very, very different. Not just in our behavior or our appearance, but in our makeup, in our biology, in our blood, in our digestive tract. All of that is so different. So even though we may be expressing the same challenge of infertility, our reasons or our cause for that can be very, very different. And so trying to find other resources, I was so stressed out and overwhelmed. And it would be about every 3 months or so where I would give up on what I was doing and try to look for something else. After a period of time, I started to meet some of my now very special and favorite mentors, midwives, doulas, and life coaches, counselors, different people that I had worked with, plus I had started working with my chiropractor and functional medicine, and just kind of trying to navigate through where I was at. Because if you looked at me, I worked out all the time. My background's in nutrition, so I was exercising exactly what I knew I was supposed to be doing, or what I thought that I was taught I was supposed to be doing. And I thought, I look good, I feel good, I have family members who have had babies just by looking at each other. I'm not really understanding what's going on. I knew that I was a type A, kind of high stress personality. So then I'm thinking it's just my mind. I just have to calm myself down. In the background, I'm also blaming my husband a lot because, well, that's kind of what we do as women sometimes. Or as individuals, is the first thing we do is instead of take responsibility, we try to blame someone else. And it was just easier to start blaming my husband. So you can imagine the friction that caused between the two of us. Here we are trying to start a family, but I'm frustrated with him all the time, or being more nagging or demanding because I am so frustrated and heartbroken. And you know what I mean when you're going through this is that you're told, oh, it takes about an average of 3 months. Well, after that first 3 months goes by, you're looking at the clock every day saying, okay, well, here's when I am supposed to be ovulating, and here's my calendar, and I'm counting my days, and I think that we're doing this at the right time. Like, it's not rocket science. It's nature. So what is going on? Because anytime you feel anything different in your body when you're going through this, you think, oh my God, is that it? What was that twinge? What's that feeling? Does that mean I'm pregnant? So then you wait for 2 weeks, and every day you're registering that different feeling that you're having that you didn't have a couple days before, until those weeks go by and you wake up and your period's there. And it's just crushing, where you sit there crying for a while, just completely breaking down, and then trying to go back through all the things that you could have done differently or that you're gonna do differently starting day 7. So these are the kind of emotions that I'm sure a lot of you experience too. And sometimes the biggest challenge can be not being stressed out, because what you're doing is more stressful. So the idea of just releasing and letting it go can seem very overwhelming. But to revert back, I knew that the physical or the mental and emotional aspect was huge for me, and I was getting stressed out doing that. To try and keep myself busy, I was working part-time in one job, full-time at another job. I was, we had moved to a new town, and I started coaching high school basketball. As soon as that was over in the spring, I started volunteering to coach youth softball, and I was just all over the place. I had so many different activities, and I thought the more busy I am, the better. And then I started realizing, when I started working on the mental aspect, okay, calm down. You have got to de-stress, and this is too much. So anyways, I'd gone through, like I said, I'd gone through the medical system. I'd done my own research with Google, and then I found some other resources and started working with some midwives, chiropractors, and my coach, my life coach. So when I started doing that, I really started calming my body, calming my nervous system, calming myself. Changed my diet where I knew what I was supposed to eating, but I hadn't made organic as big of a deal. And honestly, organic was a thing, but it wasn't as big a deal as I feel like it is now. Or maybe I just didn't have as much awareness on it because my parents absolutely had never even heard of organic. I'd never even heard the word. So once I got out of college, I thought, okay, so I'll take this information and I'll apply it to what I know. I'll keep exercising. I'll eat what I've been eating, but I'm going to start eating organic now and do a couple other little tweaks. And it still was probably another year of sticking to that and really calming myself down. And then once I wasn't thinking about it, that's what they always say, right? When you're not thinking about it anymore, that's when it'll happen. Well, in my case, it did happen. But again, 3 years and it happened. So after 3 years and a lot of learning, we conceived our baby girl, which was amazing. Now, after she was born, some things started to show up where I had mentioned in the previous video, she had a few digestive things going on where we didn't know it was digestive at first, but she, was crying all the time at certain times. A lot of times after I nursed her, but I didn't really correlate it to that because when a baby's emotional and upset, they want to continue to nurse because it's consoling, and it was just this back and forth, and took a lot of detective work to even find out what it was going on. She also developed a rash all over her arms and legs, sometimes on her cheeks, and it would come and go, and it never bothered her or itched or anything like that, but it would flare up at certain times. So after she was about a year old, we decided that, the last time it took so long, let's start trying for our second child, because we knew we wanted to have more kids. So we did, and within 3 months, I was still nursing my daughter. And within 3 months, we got pregnant, which we were very surprised. So after we had our son, everything went great, and then he had some symptoms of some different things going on, like thrush and a couple other things. But then ultimately, both of them, they looked good. They behaved well, they were happy. So we thought, they're healthy, we're eating right, we're working out, we look good, we feel good, we're doing all these things above and beyond what the average person does, so we're good. I had my baby, so I figured whatever was going on with my body before must be done. And then about a year later, when my son was a year old, I developed a rash that started on my hand and exploded all over my body within a month. I had gone to 3 different dermatologists with different diagnoses that were things like dermatitis, eczema, ringworm. None of those are correct, by the way. And just so you know, dermatitis is skin inflammation. So I was aware that I had inflammation on my skin and was very discouraged and frustrated that I wasn't getting any answers to what was going on. And I'll talk to you more about that. I don't want to go off the trail too much as far as that, but I knew I had some serious health issues going on. And once the rash popped up and I went to those different dermatologists, I also went to some other healthcare providers trying to get answers, and I kept getting worse. And I was getting sicker and sicker and wasn't able to be a mom. I found out later, much later, that I was exposed to toxic mold long ago as a child. And one of the most common side effects of mold exposure is infertility and miscarriage. Now, I had been tested for that, and I was going through treatments for some period of time after I got my rash, and I was doing much better. And after 2 years, we weren't trying to have any more children, and I found out I was pregnant. It was a very crazy and exciting time, and never thought anything of it because I thought I was getting so much better, and I was. And again, I'll talk to you more about the details of all that another time, but I, at 12 weeks, had a miscarriage, which also was new and foreign to me because none of the women in my family had ever had a miscarriage. They always tell you that these things are genetic, and it is 100% not true. There's always a reason, and genetics is not a reason. It's very common for these different things that were happening with my infertility and miscarriage and things. They happen, but they happen for different reasons. And what I learned in this process was that the mold had taken over my body in a way that it had affected so many of my systems that it was affecting my hormones. And once we had tested my hormones, I was just blown away with the fact of how little there were of them. And the other symptoms and side effects I had because of that were out of control. But in the purposes of today, I just wanted to bring up and share with you kind of my experience. And I'm not saying that all women who have struggled or are struggling with infertility are exposed to mold. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is I didn't know the reason why until we actually dug down and found the cause. And in my situation, the cause that was affecting my hormones was mold. So what is causing your situation? Do we know? I mean, how many people have you talked to already and asked them what was going on? Have they ever even really tested you for anything, or just sent you through procedures based on how long you've been struggling with infertility? Or asked you any questions about your life history as far as what kind of medications you'd been on in the past, what kind of toxins you're exposed to on a regular basis? There are so many different things that we can talk about. I mean, 12% of the U.S. population aging between 15 and 42 is struggling with infertility. That's a really big number. 7.3 million couples spend money every year on procedures for IVF. 7.3 million people. That's ridiculous. Why is that even happening? And so that's a question that we need to ask, because those treatments are not inexpensive. And they are only 40% effective. That means of those 7.3 million people, only 40% have actually even had a baby. Now, that's just hurtful, because if you already had gone through all that time of not being able to get pregnant, and then you go somewhere and pay $20,000 to $30,000 a pop to try and have IVF, I can't imagine the extra stress, after already getting to the point that I was at, and then not having it work. Plus, you're injecting hormones and chemicals and toxins into your body. So whether you become pregnant or not, you've just altered the balance of your natural state, which is going to affect you, if not while you're pregnant, but significantly afterwards. And these are the concerns that we should have as well, is that you have the equipment to become pregnant. So your body doesn't make a mistake. Something else is going on. We have to dig down, find out what it is, make the little tweaks in our body, in our environment, in our lifestyle, in our thinking, in our peace. We have to find the balance in all of those things to have not just becoming pregnant, but to have a healthy, happy pregnancy without all the weird symptoms in between. I mean, I've had friends who are sick their entire pregnancy every single time. That is a red flag of a hormone disruption. But where is it coming from? They had removed all the toxins in their life and replaced them with natural, non-toxic cleaning products, which is a huge deal. But there's still those other aspects that are going on in your life that you have to look at. So what I want to be able to share with you in these videos is all the different things we can do to balance all these areas in our life. Balance all the systems in your body to create this happy, healthy, balanced you, so that way the pregnancy comes to you easily, so that your pregnancy is smooth and easy and beautiful, just like you want it to be. The delivery is perfect and beautiful and healthy and everything that it is designed to be. And your baby is born easily, beautifully, healthy, just the way they are designed to be. And it all starts with us. So I want to take this time in these videos to share with you all the different little tools that I have acquired in my toolbox through my experience, through helping other women, because like I said, we're all different. Everybody is not experiencing infertility because of mold exposure like I did. I want to help them make sure that they know how to detoxify their life, find out the cause of what's going on, and balance those things. Because otherwise, they're going to find themselves like me in a cold room, laying on a bed in a gurney, or in a, what are those? I don't know, those sheets they give you to try and cover your body, and having fluid or water injected in my uterus and shooting through my fallopian tubes because they thought that there might be a blockage. So instead of testing me and finding out what was going on in my body, the first step was to do an invasive procedure to shoot water through my fallopian tubes, and then told me you'll probably be pregnant in a month. Well, I'll tell you, it didn't work, and it was humiliating to say the least. These little experiences, nobody should have to go through them. Why that's a procedure, it should be saved for last resort, because it's very uncommon. But I want to be a resource for you. My goal is to help over 1 million women and couples to be able to detoxify their life and find balance, whether that's happiness with children or without children, but finding that balance within your body. And I have the tools to provide, to give to you. I don't want you to feel like you have to go on to Google and be confused by all the information that you get on there. Half of it is opinion, so what do you do with someone else's opinion? I want to give you truth. So that's what we're going to do. Again, thank you for joining me here at Victoria's Essentials, and I look forward to seeing you more tomorrow.